Visitor Ian Goodwin from the Sheppey Coastguard. A listener just called in with an inquiry about flares, I understand, Ian.
Yeah, he did. But just before that,
right,
one of my colleagues on the Coast Guard, in fact the station officer Nigel, who's obviously listening in.
Yep.
Well spotted, Nigel. I'm glad someone spotted that. Of course, he did remind me that seals don't have a blowhole; they have a nose. Thank you for that, Nigel. For some reason in my head, I had a vision of a dolphin, but it wasn't. It was a seal, and he's quite right. It has actually got a nose. It hasn't got a blowhole. And I'm afraid when I was talking about it, for some reason I had a dolphin in my mind. But equally, if you keep away from the noses and keep away from any blowholes, because they're both as dangerous. Now, in terms of this flare, the guy's just rung in about flares, and he said he saw this yellow type flare which was hanging in the air. It could have been a white flare, but it was probably a Chinese lantern. And clearly people do let these Chinese lanterns off. You know, it's my bugbear. I've mentioned it on several occasions. And in essence, you should always inform the Coast Guard if you are letting off Chinese lanterns, because people do get confused. People do think they're actually distress signals, and we do get called out to Chinese lanterns. So in answer of his question, because of the way he described it to me as being slightly yellow and hanging there, I would probably think it was a Chinese lantern on this particular occasion. So going back to the incident, so my colleagues actually got there at 4 o'clock in the morning the following day, and during the day a total of 7 devices were found, and they were disposed of by the bomb disposal team from Portsmouth. Unfortunately they were a bit later than usual because some vessel had ventured into the danger zone, but off they went and they departed from the scene. During the same day, my colleagues got tasked to Warden Bay to assist a small speedboat which had broken down, and the Whitstable lifeboat towed the crew and the craft back to the shore, where safety advice was passed on. Now, on Tuesday the 27th, at 4:30, another report was received regarding the discovery of a further 9 devices on the beach, ordnance devices. Right. So again, arrangements were made for Portsmouth, from the EOD from Portsmouth, to reattend and supervise the disposal of the devices. So on the following day, Wednesday, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Sheppey Coastguard met them at Laysdown in order for them to dispose of the explosives. A controlled detonation was carried out and the team departed the scene. In all, 21 devices had been rendered safe by the EOD. On Thursday the 29th in the afternoon, we had a report of a female in difficulty on a paddleboard in Warden Bay. On arrival, the Coast Guard met the female, who was not in difficulty, and the report was considered a false alarm with good intent. On Friday the 30th in the afternoon, we were paged by Thames to investigate a report of an inflatable adrift with 1 person on board at Little Groves Laysdown. The Whitstable lifeboat attended, towed the casualty back in, and safety advice was passed on by my colleagues. Yeah, this particular one did actually make the national newspapers. Right. I know my father read it up in Stoke. In I think it was in the Mirror. I think he was reading at the time when he spotted it. But on October the 1st, Saturday, at 9 o'clock in the morning, we were requested to attend Laysdown Beach again after further reports were received of ordnance on the mud flaps. The Coast Guard officers who attended identified 7 objects and marked them accordingly. The coordinates were passed to the Royal Navy Bomb Disposal Team again, and arrangements were made for them to return to the area on Tuesday the 4th of October. During that day, they were diverted to a report of a broken down speedboat off Sheppey Beach, and that was a false alarm with good intent. They were also they were also paged in the evening to a medivac. That's a medical evacuation from the Camber at Sheerness Docks. The casualty had been extracted as fallen from a motor cruiser which was anchored in Stangate Creek and was picked out of the water by a passing yacht before being transferred to the Sheerness lifeboat. and the casualty was transferred into the care of the ambulance service and taken to the Medway Maritime Hospital for further assessment. Thing to note there, casualty had a life jacket on.
Right.
Which, you know, part of the safety procedures, wear your life jackets. That casualty wore a life jacket, saved his life. Now, on Tuesday the 4th of October at 9 o'clock in the morning, we met with the Royal Navy bomb disposal team. They agreed to sweep the beach for the remainder of the week to reduce the amount of munitions that were on the mud flaps. By the end of the first sweep, 47 items have been located and placed in a designated area for detonation the following day. So on Wednesday the 5th of October at 10 o'clock, we rendezvoused with them back at Laysdown for a continued sweep of the mud flats. A controlled detonation of the 47 items from the previous day, in addition to a further 13 found in the latest sweep, was successfully carried out. And the bomb disposal team stated they were happy that the amount found was nowhere near as high as the previous searches, and a final day's searching would suffice. So on Thursday the 6th at 11 o'clock, they were back with ourselves in Laysdown for a final day of the beach clearance. After a thorough search, no further items were found, and EOD stood down and left the area. So in a total, 87 items were found and disposed of. And if you actually search on any search engine for Sheppey Coastguards,
right,
you'll find our website. It's maintained by James Crane, who you know is one of the guests here, one of the wardens at Laysdown, and he's actually got the videos and photos on the website. People have asked me on a number of occasions, have they come from the Montgomery? No. And the reason why I know that is if you looked at the items, there was such a mixture and variety, some going back to World War One. So I reckon what had happened is, quite simply, this is my theory, right, no one else's theory, just mine, doesn't represent the views of the MCA, is probably someone ditched them overboard from a vessel many years ago, and just unfortunately got washed up all in one go. And 87, so quite I don't recall, and none of my colleagues can recall, such a significant find of ordnance at Laysdown.
It's amazing how long they survived.
Yeah,
actually,
it
as well.
is absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Okay, well, the final incident was an interesting one. On Saturday the 15th of October, which this is the instance I've got to date, which happened at 1:30 in the afternoon. And there's a little story, because my colleague Henry's been called Dr. Doolittle as a result of this one. But it was Henry Ranger and myself. We were tasked to Fletcher's Battery following a report from a fishing vessel of 2 cows falling off the cliff. Now, this is not something you want to deal with, because they're particularly heavy, yeah, these cows are. And on arrival, we located a herd of young bullocks, 2 of whom, bullocks, because they are young, the young bulls, 2 of whom were approximately 10 metres down the cliff. Now, we got out the vehicle, and the 2 bulls just amazingly ascended the cliff to join the rest of the herd, who thought we may be delivering food, so they all started walking towards. But we knew where they were, because and they were all actually looking over the cliff at these 2 who were down the cliff. But you know, I was just amazed at their skills in ascending the cliff. So relevant safety advice was passed on to the young male bulls, but they seemed unfazed by their ordeal, and everything was okay. So we departed, and everything was all right.